In this problem, Petya has to do m exams over n days, and we want to see whether she can do that. So, for each exam, we're given three values. Si is the first day in which Petya can start studying for this exam. Di is the day of the exam, and Ci is the number of days Petya needs to study for the exam to pass it. And the first thing to know is that everything is one indexed for everything that's given. And on a single day, she can either do an exam or she can study for one of her exams that she can get ready for. There can be cases in which she has an exam in the future, but she can't start getting ready for that exam because the SI is greater than the current day. So how do you tackle this? So the way to solve this is actually a pretty simple greedy answer, in which for the exams for which you can study for, you just study for the exam that occurs first. And that seems like a very simple answer, but in order to code this, it's a lot more complex. So first thing first, let's just create something called day, which will go over what she does over each day, and there's a maximum of 100 days. And now, okay, so first thing first, we're given n and m for the number of days and number of exams. Okay, and then we'll need quite a few sets. So first we want to sort it by when we can first start studying for that exam. So we have a set of pair, int, pair, int, pair, int, 1, 2, 3, 4, s. And here, each of these values would be, the first value would be the day, so the day you can start studying for the exam would be s. Then the next value would be d, which is the day of the exam, and then c would be the number of days required to study for that exam to pass it, and then the last value would be I, which will be the exam number. And yeah, so like for example, this is exam number 1, this will be exam number 2, and so on and so forth. Okay, so there's that. And then we'll also have to keep track of another set, which would be the exams for which you can get ready for now. So that is when the s value is greater than or equivalent to the current day. And so in that, it would be, we'd have, since we know we can study for that exam, we don't need s anymore. We have to know when which of these exams has their exam at the closest from today. So we need d at the start, c, and then I. So it's essentially the same as above, except we just take away s. So that is going to be a set pair, set, wait, yes, pair, int, and I'll call this can study. Okay, so then for I equals 1 to n plus 1, because the days are one indexed, what we will do is, so we'll have, we call something s, so I'll call it ss dc, and then we will cin ss dc, and then we will insert into s, which is all our exams. We'll insert first ss, then d, then c, then I, and that should be the right order. Yeah, and then we have a constraint that on the day of an exam, what we have to output is n plus 1. That's just what's given in the question. So there's that. Okay. So what we can do is, like I said, if we can study for an exam, we move that exam from the set S to the set can study. And in all the exams that we can study for, we are going to study for the exam that's the closest. So there is one case in which we are studying for an exam, but the date of the exam has passed. So in that case, it'll be impossible. And the best way to keep track of that is if we have a boolean called imp for impossible, and we set that as 0. So for right now, it's possible. So now let's go from day 1 to day n. So first thing first, we're going to check. So if S is not empty, that means there is a chance that we can move some exam in S into can study. So we just look at auto iter, let's call it 1, call s dot begin. And now looking at this, let's just call the exam itself S and save that as iter1. Oops. So if x dot first is less than equivalent to the current day of the exam, so sorry, I is the current day, right? And if the day we can start studying for an exam is less than our current day, it means we can start studying for this exam. And by that logic, what we can do is we have to move that from S to can study. So we have a pair, let's call it auto for sake. Just call this y, which is going to be x dot second dot first, then x dot second dot second dot first, and then x dot second dot second dot second. Yeah, so that's basically going from here to here. So that'll be y, and then we can just do can study dot insert y, and since we're going through, since we're doing s dot begin, we're using an iterator, I think it's best we create another set, which I'll just go over here, which will be to remove, and to remove will be the same dimensions as this, and I'll call this, yeah, to erase, to remove, same thing. And then we just do to erase dot insert x, and then plus plus iter1. So what we're doing is we're going through the set, and as long as we can study for the current exam, there's a chance that the next exam in the set has the same I as our current exam. So we keep on going through the set until we reach an exam that we cannot yet study for. So since we're using iterators, we have to store exams that we can erase in a separate set, and then once we finish this section, then what we can do is we can erase all of them from S in one go. Okay. Otherwise, if this is not the case, then we can just break, which means we cannot study for the frontmost exam yet. And then if to erase is not empty, then let's just erase it from X. Then for auto, for something, and for all the elements in to erase, we just erase it from S. And then at the very end, we just clear to erase itself. Yep, that makes sense. Okay, so now we have this kind of function that's like, oh wait, here, okay, so if, can you do 4? Oh, if it's empty, so here, okay. All of this is in a while, no, so okay, so this should be in a while loop. So you have to keep on going until you break, yeah, sorry. So you keep on going, and the while loop contains everything till break. and then you delete that, and then you tabulate that in. If goes there, solve goes there, and then this should be okay. So that's not correct, so we need one more here. Yeah, so this is for this if. So in this if, so if the set S is not empty, we can always check if some exam in S can be shifted to can study. So this is what this does. This shifts an exam from S to can study if you can. So yeah, now that I fixed that, so now we can see if can study is empty and S is also empty, that just means we're done, which means we've studied for all the exams and we've finished it early, so we're done. So we can just break from this for loop, and that should be good. Then we can check if can study is empty, or we have an exam on the current day. Then we can just continue because we can't make any changes to this day. That makes sense. Okay, now what do you see? Okay, so now we know there isn't an exam on the day, and we know that there is stuff that we can get ready for. So we're gonna do auto iter is equivalent to can study dot begin, and then auto, just call it z, is this exam that we can study for. So if the date of the exam has passed today, then we know that no answer exists and we have to break. Otherwise, we just set, okay, day I we'll be studying for this exam z, and that exam number is z.second. Yeah. So now what we want to do is we have this value c, right, which is the number of days we need to study for that exam. And since we studied for this exam on this day, what we'll essentially do is let's create a new z, and then the new z dot second dot first, which is a c value, would be one less because we had just gotten ready for this exam. So we keep on studying for this exam until we hit 0. Once this c value hits 0, then we know we've fully studied for this exam and we're done. So now that we've studied for this exam, we can just say if this value, if the c is not 0, then we insert this back into can study. So can study dot insert this new z, and then no matter what, we always take out the old z. So we just do can study dot erase z, and this basically shows that if we can study for a day, we study for that exam, and then we change it so we only need to study one less in the future because we use this data to study for it. So now that we've done that, we just have to see if we can solve it or not. So it's only impossible if imp is true, or after the end of the nth day, either can study is not empty, so not can study dot empty, or s dot empty is false. If any of these three are true, that means it's impossible to pass all exams in this given n days. Otherwise, we can, and it's just for I between 1 and n plus 1, we just see out day I, and that looks good. Excellent. Okay, so I can't use auto. Oh, it's annoying. Okay, so this is going to be a pair int int. So maybe 1 2. Okay, that worked. Okay, 1 2 3 0 3. Oh no. Did I not see in properly? Okay, that's not good. Wait, I forgot the error message. Shoot. Okay, so the error message was okay, the overflow. Really an overflow? Okay, let's just check everything. Okay. So int. So 101 days. Int and n. See in that. So we have a set f, a set can't study, and a set to erase. Looks good for I1 to n plus 1. Int ss dc, c and ss dc, s dot insert ss dci. That looks good. Day d equals n plus 1. That's good. Boo, impossible. Then for I between 1 and n plus 1, if not s dot mt, auto iter equals s dot begin, while true. Oh, there is an edge case here that we actually reach the very end of s. So if iter 1 equals s dot n, then we also break. Oh, what's happening? Yep. Yeah, I think that was the issue. Yeah, 12303 -1 222110434. Perfect. Yeah, this question had a lot of edge cases, so hopefully this works. And voila.